people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A change in plans for newly crowned IBF champion Gabriela Fundora. Initially, she was supposed to be boxing Marlen Esparza in what would have been the undisputed title fight between them, but as a result of a falling out due to the money, Gabriela is now set to defend her title against unbeaten amateur standout Cristina Cruz of Puerto Rico. Gabriela Fundora and Cristina Cruz have agreed to fight for Fundora's IBF flyweight title January 27th at the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona, a source told ESPN's Michael Rothstein on Thursday. The fight will be on the undercard of the Jaime Munguia versus John Ryder super middleweight bout. Gabriela Fundora won the title in the last fight by defeating Mexico's own Arely Muciño by way of a fifth-round knockout back in October. Fundora, ESPN's number 2 flyweight, scored 2 knockdowns in that fight, showcasing power and great technique. The fighter from Coachella, California, also earned decision victories over Tania Garcia and Maria Michelle Santizo in 2023. After fighting 5 times last year, Fundora was expected to face WBC, WBO, and WBA flyweight champion Marlen Esparza to crown an undisputed champion, but that fight will have to wait.
Now Gabriela will be facing Cristina Cruz, and rumor has it that Marlen will be running it back with former WBO champion of Argentina, Gabriela Alanis.
Given the controversial nature of Marlen Esparza's victory over Gabriela Alanis, a rematch between them was ordered. And for a second there, it looked like she was going to skip out on Gabriela Alanis and fight Gabriela Fundora. But they couldn't come to an agreement on the money, at least that's what I heard, so here we are.
As far as Fundora versus Cruz,
there are similarities between Cristina Cruz and Marlen Esparza. That Marlen Esparza is a finesse fighting kind of fighter. She's not an artillery fighter. She's not a powerhouse. Her bread and butter is her boxing, and the same can be said of Cristina Cruz. She might be long and limber for the weight, but she's not the hardest puncher. She, like Marlen Esparza, comes from a great amateur background, and she really is more finesse than ferocity, just like Marlen Esparza. You could argue that Cristina Cruz is adequate preparation for a Marlen Esparza fight, that if Gabriela Fundora takes care of business against Cristina Cruz, this will have been adequate preparation for a Marlen Esparza fight, provided that Marlen can beat Gabriela Alanis for a second time. As it pertains to Fundora versus Cruz, I feel like up until this point, Cristina Cruz, who's long and limber for flyweight, she's tall and she's long for this weight, and she's been able to use that to her advantage.
that she usually has a height advantage and a reach advantage, and she uses that to her advantage, but she won't have those advantages with Gabriela Fundora. Gabriela's the one fighter at this weight that's
longer,
taller than everybody.
It's an important detail ahead of this fight because what you normally see from Cristina Cruz is Cristina managing the distance behind straight punches, moving around and boxing from the outside, using her height and using her length.
How's she gonna do that with Gabriela?
Gabriela, like her brother, Sebastian, she's a pressure fighter, but she's a nuanced pressure fighter. You could definitely argue that Gabriela uses her height and uses her length a lot better than her brother, who's a mid-range to inside hooker.
The Fighting Fundoras are both pressure fighters, with the difference being that Sebastian is a mid-range to inside fighter that likes to throw hooks and uppercuts in the phone booth.
Sebastian's best punches are his bent-on punches, whereas Gabriela's best punches are her straight punches from the outside coming in, allowing her to use her height and use her length to get off punches from a safe distance. And this is all while applying pressure, while stepping into her punches, while applying pressure and putting punches together.
Looks like Cristina Cruz is going to have a hell of a hard time managing the distance against Gabriela, as Gabriela stalks her and walks her down. That's what she does.
Fantastic ring coverage, enough height, and enough length that she can get out the jab and touch the opponent long range, get them to cover up, step into it, and before you know it, she's right on top of you. She's all over you. And you see what she did to Arely Musinho in her last fight. Arely is a much more experienced fighter than Cristina Cruz. Cristina, she's not an artillery fighter. She's not big on power, so I don't think she's going to be able to keep Gabriela off of her.
Creates a situation to where if Gabriela doesn't stop her, if she doesn't knock her out, she may outwork her within the round.
The noticeable discrepancy in age between them, where Gabriela Fundora is a very fresh and fly 21 years old, Cristina's 41. She's 20 years older than Gabriela. The edge goes to the champion. If nothing else, I believe Gabriela Fundora can outwork Cristina Cruz, who's going to have a hell of a hard time managing the distance.
I don't think she can get Gabriela's respect. I don't think she can stop Gabriela from coming forward.
So I think Gabriela's going to win the fight, and I think she will retain the IBF title. Look for this on the undercard of Munguia versus Ryder early next year. In men's super lightweight news, Ryan Garcia says, I want to get back out there either March or April. Inactivity really crushed me. It is true that Ryan Garcia could stand to be a bit more busy, a bit more active.
Use a bit more time under the hot lights with Derek James to continue to work on things.
I want to get back by March or April, Garcia insisted. Inactivity really crushed me. It has become far too commonplace for the 25-year-old Victorville, California native. Garcia has spent much of 2023 feuding with Golden Boy Promotions, with whom he signed to a promotional deal back in 2016 and extended it in September of 2019 for a reported additional 5 years. The two sides remain locked in a two-way lawsuit, though that matter was temporarily set aside for the sake of resuming his career. He needs to, because if his last fight was an example of anything, it was a testament to how Ryan Garcia, in spite of being as talked about and popular as he is, he's not a finished product. He's not a complete fighter. His identity as a fighter, he's not settled in.
His haphazard take on a shoulder roll is a perfect example of that.
I've been boxing as a pro since I was 17, noted Garcia, who turned pro in June of 2016, 2 months shy of his 18th birthday. I've had my breaks a year and a half. You're not going to become a better boxer that way. The more you do something, the better you become at it. And I feel like Ryan Garcia, ideally, he should be boxing 2 to 3 times a year, maybe 4 if he can.
Ryan recently grabbed everybody's attention when he took to social media to tell the world that he's in the process of negotiating a fight with Devin Haney.
You think about that, and you think about what Ryan said, that he wants to get back out there in either March or April. Needless to say, I don't think Ryan will be facing Devin in either March or April, even if conversations are happening, preliminary conversations about doing a fight. I don't think Ryan and Devin share a ring with each other on that time frame.
Confirmed on both sides that they are talking. Ryan Garcia said, I've advised my team to contact Team Haney to discuss and make the fight happen between Devin and I, to which Devin replied, these are facts.
Confirmation from Devin, confirmation from Ryan, confirmation from Oscar De La Hoya, who promotes Ryan, that conversations to do the fight are happening, but that doesn't mean that they're going to do it as soon as March or April. I don't think it happens that quickly. And the effect that this is having, Devin and Ryan talking about doing a fight, a big fight between them, it's making Gervonta Davis look bad.
How so?
I don't know if that's what their intention was. I don't know if that's what they set out to do when they announced this to the public, that they're negotiating a fight between them. But the effect that it's having.
Remember that Devin Haney and Bill Haney, Devin Haney's father, they've been calling out Gervonta Davis. They've been calling him out for a fight.
They're saying there's upwards of $20 million in it for Gervonta Davis if he's willing to fight Devin.
Gervonta isn't answering the call. Ryan Garcia is.
When you consider how lopsided the negotiations were between Ryan and Gervonta, it becomes immediately apparent that the only reason that fight happened was because Ryan was willing to do what he had to do to make sure it happened, that he wouldn't let anything get in the way, not even a catch weight and a rehydration clause. Now, all of this was to his detriment, but it doesn't change that the only reason that fight happened was because he did everything possible to make it happen. Another fighter would not have accepted a catch weight and a rehydration clause.
Some other fighter, that would have been a non-starter.
Now, once again, Ryan is doing what he's got to do to make another big fight. It makes Gervonta Davis look bad because when is he gonna do what he's gotta do to make a big fight?
Let's get it straight. The only reason the fight with Ryan happened was because of Ryan.
Ryan, who's stepping up to take on Devin Haney where Gervonta Davis is not. To date, Gervonta Davis has made no effort to take on Devin Haney, in spite of Devin's expressed interest in facing him. And all of this is starting to catch up with Gervonta, starting to make him look bad.
Oscar De La Hoya tweeted, "It's funny how Ryan Garcia wants Devin Haney, but now all of a sudden the Al Heyman robots come out and hate. Ryan beats Haney, hands down."
The proposed fight between them is being met with some skepticism. Not everybody's convinced that these negotiations are genuine, and what this really is a joint effort to make Gervonta Davis look bad. That Devin and Ryan, they're not actually going to fight. They're just working together to steal that kid's thunder. That's what some people think.
Maybe that's what it is, but it's working.
It is having that desired effect because when you consider what Gervonta Davis's other options are, a rematch with Isaac Cruz, a fight with Rayo Valenzuela, nobody wants to see those fights. They'd much rather see a fight between him and Devin Haney. According to Devin, there's no real negotiations with Tank. That's the fight I'd love, but his team haven't reached out to us or anything. They said they'll be the ones to send an offer, but nobody's reached out. We're on to Ryan Garcia now. We're in negotiations with Oscar and Ryan. Ryan's lawyer, Ryan's team, so it could very much be what's next.
I don't think it will be.
What I think is that Ryan Garcia needs more time with Derek James, and he knows it. He needs to be busier so he can further develop as a fighter. If you can believe that, he still needs to develop. He is not where Devin Haney is.
Devin has his identity as a fighter, and it's proven effective.
And the more I think about this, the more it seems like a joint effort from Team Garcia and Team Haney to put pressure on Gervonta Davis. You may ask yourself, well, why would Team Garcia, who already fought Gervonta Davis, why would they want to help Devin put pressure on that guy? And it's payback. It's payback for the weight stipulations, the catch weight, the rehydration clause.
They couldn't beat Gervonta Davis, but Devin Haney can. And in that way, they're going to help Devin stick it to Gervonta, put pressure on Gervonta.
It's what I think this really is, though. Even if preliminary discussions for a fight between Devin and Ryan are happening, I don't expect that will be their next fight. Maybe it'll happen next year, maybe down the line, but I don't think as soon as March or April we get that fight. Finally, in men's welterweight news, Eddie Hearn seeks to sign Jaron Ennis. You need someone telling the world that this kid is special. We've known for some time now that there has been an effort from Matchroom to bring over Jaron Ennis to their side of things.
But whether or not they will has yet to be determined.
Eddie Hearn's been in contact with that team. Just to his father, his management team, Hearn said when asked if he had a conversation with Ennis, "I'd like to sign him." Asked if Ennis was a free agent, Hearn responded, "Yeah." We know that Jaron Ennis, he was a Showtime fighter, though not necessarily a PBC fighter. A PBC guy, whatever arrangement they had was with the Showtime network, but now that Showtime is out of boxing,
He's a free agent.
he's an incredible fighter, but again, it's getting him to understand. We've got a job to do with Jaron Ennis, Hearn said. I need 12 months to build this kid into a superstar. I need to take him home to Philadelphia and start selling out stadiums there. But when you've got a fighter as good as that, it's so easy to put a plan together because you know he can beat everybody. When I'm selling a product that is elite and second to none, no one can do the job that I can. You've got to have someone with that megaphone, that motor mouth, that machinery within their promotional company and digital arsenal to push you 24/7, Hearn continued. Who is pushing the profile of Boots Ennis? Who is getting on the microphone?
For a long time, people questioned Eddie Hearn's ability to promote fighters in the United States, that he might be great at promoting fights in the UK, but what about the US? Then you consider how well Devin Haney's fight did in terms of ticket sales.
And it did relatively well. You've got to have someone with that megaphone, that motor mouth, that machinery within their promotional and digital arsenal to push you 24/7, Hearn continued. Who is pushing the profile of Boots Ennis? Who is getting on the microphone? I mean, pushing his profile just by talking about him. He's not even signed with us, but I'm talking about him because I think he's brilliant. You need someone telling the world that this kid is special, and that's so easy to do with someone like Boots Ennis. He's American, he looks great, he's got style, he's got power, he's got speed, and I know you can put him in fights in 147. You just go, do your thing. So yeah, ideally, Jarron Boots Ennis would be fighting 2 to 3 times a year on a regular platform, a regular network, not behind a paywall, not on pay-per-view, because pay-per-views aren't selling as well as they used to. And if the most you can do is get buried on the undercard of a pay-per-view that someone else is headlining, not that many people are gonna see you.
Eddie wants to sign him, but he's not the only one in the running.
Per a tweet from Boxing Insider Rick Garcia, solid rumors of Boots Ennis fighting a 40-year-old Robert Guerrero next. You can't make this shit up. This would be a horrible, gross mismatch. The outlet changed from Showtime to Amazon, but looks like it's still the same crap from the PBC. Jaron Ennis only boxed once last year and 2 times this one. He was last in action back in July, leaving plenty of time to schedule a third fight for him before this year is out, but alas, that didn't happen. This rumor from Rick Garcia that he's going to be facing the ghost of Robert Guerrero, what it would herald is a partnership between Team Ennis and the PBC, because up until this point, he wasn't a PBC fighter. He was boxing on Showtime like a lot of other PBC guys, though he himself wasn't yet a PBC fighter. If he ends up boxing Robert Guerrero...
Well, I told you they were fattening up Robert for somebody.
That if they went as far as dedicating a slot for a rematch between Robert Guerrero and Andre Berto in a rematch that no one was asking for between two 40-year-olds, it's gotta be because they're fattening up the winner for somebody. And it would appear that they're fattening up Robert Guerrero for Jarron Boots Ennis. And what you have to ask yourself is, if this is the kind of matchmaking that the PBC has to offer Jarron Boots Ennis, should he go over there? Should a fighter the caliber of a Jarron Boots Ennis really be fighting Robert Guerrero?
You couldn't get him Mean Machine? Or what about Radzov Butayev?
What you have to remember is that if he were to go with the PBC and he were boxing on Amazon Prime, they only have about 12 to 14 fight dates over there. There was a rumor 2 weeks ago that the PBC may have a second broadcast deal with a second broadcaster, but 2 weeks later, we haven't heard anything else in reference to that. So when you think about that you've only got 12 to 14 fight dates to work with on Amazon, can they keep Jaron Ennis busy? Can they keep him active?
2 out of the 14 dates are going to be Canelo Alvarez fights.
2 more may be Gervonta Davis's next fights. At least one is going to be the Spence versus Crawford rematch, as well as one more for David Benavidez's next fight, whoever it's against. Based on that, it doesn't sound like the people at the PBC have the resources to keep Jaron Ennis as busy as he needs to be, because he needs to be busier. Only hardcore boxing fans that really follow the sport closely, only hardcores are aware of this fighter.
Seems a gross waste of his time and his talent, putting him in there with an old fogey like Robert Guerrero. What's the point in that fight?
He's a champion now. IBF welterweight champion. Surely you can find him someone better to fight, and if you can't, then maybe you're not the outfit he needs to go with.